Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. Love talking football. This is that time of the year right now when the rubber's starting to hit the road, when it looks like teams you weren't expecting to are starting to hit their stride, and other teams are going the opposite direction. So I'm excited. I'm glad to be on again. I had a dope-ass trip in Tampa. I'm joined, and I haven't forgot about you, man. I'm joined by my man Adam over here from Buck and Idiots podcast. Glad to have you back on, bro. How you doing?
What's up, Gene?
Hey, man, slow motion, man. I'm glad. Hey, I had the best trip, in Tampa. Had a great time. Got to see friends. Got to see family. I got an amazing tour of One Buck Place that I promise you. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that in my life. And, shout out to my guy who gave me the tour. It's much appreciated. And out of respect for him, I'm not gonna name drop or anything like that. But I will say that I don't think too many people will get a tour like what I got. So much appreciated. So how you doing, man?
Good, man. It feels good to be treated like a VIP every once in a while, doesn't it?
For real. You have no idea, man. It's just a good feeling.
I think more Bucs fans should have that experience. I know that when they're trying to court you to give your money to them and sign up for season tickets, they give you a kind of a taste of the facility. They let you into the media room where they do the press conferences. They let you into the room where the media gets to hang out. They take you out onto the practice field, and I think they give you a glimpse of the cafeteria area. But that outside of that, most people don't get to see the rest of the facility, the weight room, the rehabilitation area, and then of course all the office space. Most people don't get to see behind the scenes like that. And from what I understand, you got a sneak peek.
Yeah, man. I got to see some stuff, like I said, that people don't normally get to see. So I like I said, I had a great time, and again, it's much appreciated. Again, it gives you a greater appreciation for this organization and some of the things that they do, the charities the things that they do, philanthropy that, and I always appreciate that. And just, I know people get mad at the Bucs about this and that, but just what they do in the community, especially Tampa. Tampa is home. Just what they do for Tampa is nothing short of incredible. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciated that tour, and I just appreciate this team so much more.
Yeah, they have a state-of-the-art facility. Did you get a chance to go over into the new indoor practice facility at all? Incredible.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, unreal. You can park a damn airplane in that
thing. Yeah, the nice thing was I got to see that smoker. Have you gotten to check up that smoker?
No.
Yeah, they got the smoker, man, at it's right outside, when you come into the side and you're facing out to the practice field. They've got this big ass smoker out there, man. That thing is amazing.
You're talking about like a smoker for smoking?
Yeah,
meat?
like brisket and whatever. They've got that out there. Yeah, man, it's amazing. Just the kitchen and some of the other features that they've got there. Again, it's a state of the art facility. You can't help but appreciate it, for real.
Yeah, I mean they. Coming from where they came from.
Yeah, remember the old One Buck.
Yes. A lot of people really don't know that the Bucs used to practice basically on airport property. Okay, yep. That's where the old Bucs Bucs place
looked like a runway.
You could when I say that it smelled like jet fumes,
did.
That's not an exaggeration. They were literally practicing right next to where the airplanes were taking off. Not only that, they won a Super Bowl in that shithole.
No, they hadn't even talked about, because you remember Tampa Bay Center was the spot, man. You always went to Tampa Bay Center after the game. I remember getting in a couple of fist fights with some Green Bay Packer fans, and it was crazy.
Gene, my dad had a business in Tampa Bay Mall. I grew up in that mall, and that's really how I became a Bucks fan because I literally my first school ever would drop my bus would drop me off at the mall,
Uh-huh.
and I would stay there for the rest of the day. And then my dad got had a relationship with a lot of the Bucks players because it was a luggage business and a travel agency. He got to know Doug Williams really well. I got to hang out with Doug. And from the age of 6 on, man, I became this enormous Bucks fan. And yeah, man, it's crazy.
Isn't it amazing what kind of impact Doug Williams had on so many people? I can honestly say he was a big influence into why I was him and McKay were two of the hugest influences with me being a Bucks fan. Where he shook my hand. Mr. McKay shook my hand, and I was just like, you're this little kid, and you're freaking out because this guy that you think is so amazing comes up and he shakes your hand. I'm like, wow, it's crazy.
I didn't even realize, at 6 years old, I obviously didn't understand that I was hanging out with the head, the quarterback of the Buccaneers. I didn't really understand how cool that was until later on, a couple years later, after I started to go into the games, and I'd be like, Dad, that's our buddy Doug, and it was real cool experience. But back to the old One Buck facility. Okay, their weight room was worse than any high school weight room you've ever been to. Outside weight room now, no AC. Okay, and it was literally just old rusty ass weights, and they won. Like I said, they won a Super Bowl in that facility.
It's funny. Doesn't that make you think about like Rocky when you're in this old beat up funky gym and you're that's all you know. Yep. And you're going out there and you're busting your tail because you want to win a Super Bowl. And you got guys, Hall of Famers are playing under these conditions. Derek Brooks is playing with these rusty ass weights, and Warren Sapp, guys like this are playing under these conditions. And let me tell you, when you talk about humidity, woo, you have no idea just being out there in that. Just if you got the chance to go and watch him practice.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Gene, those were the days of 2-a-days and 3-a-days.
Yeah, this is before the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, not the pampered ass shit that players get today, where they can barely hit, they barely sweat, and most of the time they spend is indoors studying film, and I think the game has suffered for it.
I think with that whole concussion lawsuit, I think it really changed a whole lot of the game. I'm on the fence about this, to be very honest. TC Baby 1, what's going on? Neil L, what's up? Jeremy St. John's, what's going on? J Daddy 6, I ain't forgot about you. I've been seeing your messages down there. I'm gonna get to you. Frank G, the overexposed Cowboys are losing. Unbelievable. I picked him to win. So, but just kind of getting back to, what we were talking about here. It's just, I don't know. It's just incredible, where they've gone to where they've come to,
That just goes to show really, all of this whole beautiful facility, it's not necessary. At the end of the day, it's about the players. It's about heart. And did you happen to catch JPP's little locker room interview this week where he talked about exactly that? He talked about how he doesn't want to come off the field. We already knew that.
Yeah.
Everybody knew from last year JPP doesn't want to come off the field, and that he'd like to play every play until he gets tired. But he's had to essentially, kind of go in and play a new role on this defense where it's more of a rotation and they pull him off, in certain situations. But right after that, I don't know which media member it was, asked him, is it about heart? And immediately he's like, absolutely. This is all about heart. It's all about it. It's that's everything. It really is. I mean, talent can only get you so far. This guy, he's the poster child for heart, man. Dude had a broken neck, blew off his damn hand. He's obviously a freak of nature, but nothing can stop this guy, bro. Nothing.
I know, man. He had a safe dropped on him. He had a house dropped on him, and he's just come back. It doesn't matter. This guy has a knee injury, and he's trying to find a way to get onto the field. And I mean, that's, you know what, I know there's been a lot of talk of do you bring JPP back or you let him go. There's some intangibles that some players have that you really can't put a real price tag on. And I think with a player like JPP, that's what this team has needed for years. And I'm not taking anything away from any other player. I'm not downing any other player. I'm just talking about JPP, his heart, his mentality, his approach to the game is something that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense has needed for years. I can even go back to a decade and a half.
Well, we can trace it back. Okay, when they decided to let Derek Brooks go, when they decided to let John Lynch walk, when they decided to let Warren Sapp walk, when they decided to let the heart and soul of this team, not just the defense, the team, the heartbeat of the team, when they decided to go young and go youngry, I don't care who you draft. I don't care what overpriced free agent you bring in. Those guys were Bucs, man. They had so much pride in being Bucs.
Yeah.
We all really know who it started. I mean, Warren Sapp was a Buck.
Yeah.
He was a Bucs fan growing up. He wanted nothing more than to see this organization succeed. And he did that. He really did. He willed this team, along with Hall of Famer Derek Brooks, along with probably future Hall of Famer, John Lynch and Rondé Barber. But he was the heartbeat of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you cannot deny that. That whole, I really don't want to give it any airplay, so I'm gonna give it a few seconds and I'm gonna move on. That whole top 100 without Warren Sapp in it was trash, and I'm just and that's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm gonna leave that alone. Somebody in the chat is asking about my thoughts on Devin White. I'm glad you asked. That is a great question. I'm gonna get to some of your other questions right in here. It's documented, and I'm not gonna deny it. Devin White was not my choice in the draft. I wanted them to get somebody, edge rusher or somebody on the defensive line to go along with Vita Vea. And I didn't think that at the time, I didn't think Gerald McCoy was going to be the answer. And, I'm trying to remember back to about that time, if that's about the time he signed with, he'd already signed with Carolina. But to my point here, I wanted somebody alongside of Vita Vea because I felt that this guy we haven't seen anywhere near his ceiling just based on what he did in the back end of the season last year. So when you had Devin White come available in the draft and I watched some of his film and I was like, okay, yeah, he's all right, I guess. And then, with the injury, I had to take a step back because I did not want to be the people that were trashing Vita Vea last year after his injury, and then he comes back. I didn't want to be that guy. No, he wasn't my pick, but yes, I am so happy that guy is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. The way he's playing right now is lights out, and I don't even think we've seen. Even a fraction of what we're going to see from him in the future, just based on what I'm seeing from him. And his covering skills are getting better. He's acclimating himself to the speed of the game. He's continuously in plays. I just love his nose for the ball. This guy was to me the steal of the draft. I think that I don't know. I think that the NFL is doing a disservice by not keeping him in the conversation of Rookie of the Year. I know he's had a shorter period of time to play, but just what he's been able to do from then to now, it's incredible. And I'm happy that he's a Buck.
Well, listen, in 3 less games, his numbers are comparable, to the other Devin, to Devin Bush.
Yeah.
It's Josh Allen's probably going to, Josh Allen or Bosa is probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year just because sacks are sexy.
Yeah.
And that's what people like. And whatever. I don't really care about awards. I'm not big. Yeah. I'm not that award guy. I don't give a shit about Pro Bowls. A lot of people like to use Pro Bowls as like the measuring stick for a guy's career. To me, it's a popularity contest. There's plenty of guys who've made Pro Bowls that had no business making the fucking Pro Bowl. So I don't really give a shit about that. We all know, though, as Bucs fans, what we're seeing out there. And that was a great transition into what we were talking about, right? With the old guard,
Right.
the old guard that was here.
Yeah.
We had leaders. We talked about JPP and another guy that was in the locker room right after the win, standing in front of his men, preaching to them about that this is just 2 games, like let's get a third one now, was Devin White.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's a leader right there. He's out there showing this is why you brought me in here. This is what we need to do. We need to get and again, I'm not taking shots at anybody that's no longer here. I'm just saying that, who we have now, I'm very happy with. And again, after that little knee injury that he had, after being in the hospital, coming out and playing, just how fast he's gotten up to speed. I cannot wait to see him at 100%, having a full season of the NFL under his belt, and seeing what he's going to be capable of doing next year. I'm super excited about Devin White, and he's one of those guys. And kind of J Daddy 6 was asking for our thoughts on the defense over the past 2 weeks, and I'm gonna let you take this one first, but then I'll come in behind you because I have some really, really interesting thoughts on this.
Honestly, I got to get a sigh of relief, man, because up until these last 2 weeks, we really didn't see the potential in these young guys.
Yeah.
And I'm emotional, man. I'm an emotional fan.
Yeah.
I'm probably too emotional. If those who follow me on Twitter, I'm Stank Bastard on Twitter at Bucs Podcast. I'm an emotional guy on there, and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And if you listen to the Buccaneers podcast, you know that too. Okay,
and that's what most fans are supposed to do.
Yeah, I was calling. I was questioning Todd Bowles. I'll say that. I was questioning Todd Bowles. I was questioning Jason Light. I really didn't see the chemistry. I really didn't see, these young guys showing their potential. And then Jamel Dean, kind of flash, right? And we've already seen Carlton Davis have some moments out there, but have equally as terrible moments out there. But once VH3's sorry ass got cut, once they got that guy who didn't really take this seriously, like it was always a joke to the kid. I've heard some behind the scenes stuff from people who know him. He just didn't take. He didn't treat it like a business. Okay,
right.
You can't. I mean, listen. There was before
this your brand.
There was before VH3 and there was after VH3. Okay, just look at how these guys are playing. That we sent a message, and those young guys heard it loud and clear. And not only the young guys, but the defense has ratcheted up.
I mean, you got these little young cornerbacks out here collecting bodies out there on the field too.
And people can say what they want about, we just beat Atlanta and we just beat Jacksonville. Bitch, all right, look what the young guys did against Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. And these are Pro Bowl receivers,
right.
Yeah.
Right. If there's a better receiver duo, it's here in Tampa. Outside of that, it's them. Okay. And we held our own. And that's such a huge confidence builder. When those young guys can walk away with the victory, and when we handle them on defense, and we had a pretty good game offensively, that's such a big confidence boost, man. You saw it last week. They came in with the swagger. They came in with the belief in themselves. And we've talked about this before, me and Eugene, that's Bruce Arians' magic, okay? If everybody wants to know what makes Bruce Arians a good coach, is he's almost blindly confident in his guys.
Right.
And I said on Sammer's podcast, he reminds me in a little bit, and it's this maybe is a bad comparison, but almost like Donald Trump, like the shit that comes out of Bruce Arians' mouth sometimes, I don't even think he believes. But
he's got to put it out there.
It's a message.
Yeah.
It's his brand and confidence, and that's what he's selling, because he knows the young guys are going to hear it. Okay. And maybe behind closed doors, him and Bowles are saying something completely different, but it doesn't matter. What he says in the media and what he says to the fans is he believes in these guys. He believes in this team. Saying stuff like, "Oh, the secondary is totally fixed." He probably didn't necessarily believe that, but he wanted the guys to believe that.
Right.
And we're starting to see that confidence that he's instilled pay off now, I think.
Yeah.
And we got 4 more weeks. Shit, they might fall apart this week, but I'm going to go back to what I said initially. I'm a little bit relieved because even going into the offseason, we know that we have some pieces that we can work with, and that made me feel good, man.
Yeah, I'm 100% right there with you. I like what they're doing. You know, that and this is going to sound cliche, but they're gelling. They're starting to trust each other. They're starting to communicate a whole lot better. You're not seeing the lost looks in certain places. The pass rush is getting home. That kind of thing. I think this week is going to be a huge test with the Colts coming in and their offensive line. Being able to get pressure on the quarterback is going to be key because you're talking about you're talking about a Jacoby Brissett is the real deal. So Ken F, what's going on? I'm happy with this defense. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, they gave up this, they gave up that, but you know what? They're not where they were last year. If we compare where this Buccaneers defense compared to last year, they're a lot further along than they were. Again, there are going to be upgrades made. You hope there are going to be key upgrades made in the offseason that will just make this team even better. And that's all you can hope for is market improvement to where we're talking playoffs. I don't want to be talking draft this time of the year. I don't want to be talking draft. I'd rather be talking about going to the playoffs. I think that's where every fan wants to be. And I would rather replace playoffs with talking about draft picks.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's draft season is always Bucs season, and it has been that way for the last 12 years. And while we're making a run right now, and I really do hope we put it on the Colts and climb closer to 500, chances of us making the playoffs now are slim. But I don't give a shit about that. I want them to win. I want them to win out just because, next year does matter. And when the new crop of guys come into $1 next year, the new draft picks, the new free agents, you're going to have Devin White stepping up and riding for this coaching staff and riding for this system because he knows that we can win with this system. Like I said before, the first part of it was confidence. These guys are seeing they can win with this system. They can win in Bowles defense. And we already knew we can score points. If we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and we don't get holding penalties on every big run we have, and we give Jameis some time to throw, and Jameis plays within himself and doesn't try to carry the team and be Superman all the time. And I know there's a lot of ifs, but really, that's what it is, okay? That's what it is. Shooting yourselves in the foot, and then again,
because there have been so many games the Bucs they should have won, hands down should have won.
Yeah, everybody hates the Patriots, right? But their mantra is perfect. It's do your job. Don't do the other guy's job, right? Yeah. Don't try to be everything on every play. Do your fucking job, and play within yourself, play within your skill set. Stop trying to be Superman. And that's not, I'm not just talking about 3. I'm talking about everybody out there. On offense, there's no reason we can't be a dominant offense every single week, because on paper we have the horses, and on the field we have the horses. And I think we're one player away, one speed receiver away, one John Brown type receiver away from seeing what this Arians offense is supposed to look like.
Yeah. And you know what? I was talking with Bex on Twitter, and we were going back and forth because Perriman, he shocked me. I did not expect Perriman to have the game that he had against the Jags. That caught me by surprise. And I just feel like Perriman has been reading my tweets and like, okay, let me go ahead and shut this guy up here and make some of these catches and shut him up and everything. So just the way he's played, the past couple of weeks, I mean, that's the contribution that we were kind of expecting from this guy. I think he's developing a better relationship with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston dropped some deep balls on him, hit the, just dropping the bucket passes. And it kind of makes me go back and think about Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just kind of question Deshaun Jackson now when I'm seeing somebody like a Perriman who's finally worked on chemistry, and they developed that him and Jameis kind of develop a little bit more chemistry, and he's getting the ball, and he's not dropping it, and it's just putting it where he can get it. And I don't know. I just now the more I see of a guy, a lesser talent, I would say, and I will say lesser talent because Deshaun Jackson is a burner. Yep. Just seeing him being able to make those plays, and everybody was saying Jameis isn't able to get the deep ball over to Deshaun Jackson, and it just kind of makes me question the whole thing. So I don't know, man. Again, I'm happy with the progress a lot of these players have made.
Yeah, I don't want to get too crazy with it. We all know Jameis isn't the most accurate guy, and his deep ball isn't great. But Deshaun Jackson's problem wasn't his chemistry with Jameis. Deshaun Jackson's problem was Deshaun Jackson. Meeshawn Jackson. We just had another Meeshawn in town.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah. Listen, Jameis does better with bigger guys who have better catch radiuses, because it gives him more room for error out there. That's why him and Evans have such chemistry. That's why him and Godwin have just blown the hell up this year, because those guys can catch it anywhere. Little low, no problem, they got it. Little high, no problem, they got it. They're like power forwards out there. But yeah, we all want to see Jameis hit the deep ball, and he has more this year than he has in the past. And Ken F asked about, can Scotty Miller be the deep threat? If he could stay healthy, he could be the deep threat. It's like he was getting some momentum, and then boom, he's got an injury again. He was out most of the beginning of the season with an injury. So it's just about being available, right? What's the best ability is availability. He just hasn't really been available. So we don't know what he is yet. Could he end up developing into that John Brown? I think that was the idea when they drafted him, because they need speed.
Yeah.
If this offense lacks anything, it's real speed. We have size, and that's, not to bring up old negative shit, but that was my questioning of this system. Okay, you're talking about an average offensive line that's being asked to pass block for 5 or 6 seconds because our receivers, which don't have the speed to get separation real fast, take some time to get open.
Yeah.
And that was just, that to me,
those slow developing plays.
Right. That's a recipe for issues. And Jameis Winston's been beat the fuck up this year. More so probably than any year in his career. He's been under duress. I don't know how many times he's been sacked, but it's got to be close to 50, and he's shaken off probably 20 on top of that, or more. Every game he's making plays with his feet, and Jameis is deceptively athletic. Like, he looks like a baby deer when he runs. Like, his legs and his brain don't necessarily.
But the thing is, Jameis Winston is a football player, man.
Yeah, bro.
And that's, I remember during the draft in the combine, I think he ran like a 4, almost a 5 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And everybody was laughing at him and comparing him, to what Mariota had did. But when it came right down to game time, and you got a defense, all your defensive players have their back turned to Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston will eat you alive in a lot of the times that he can get a chance to get out there and get to go. And again, that speaks to what he's capable of doing. Now, on the subject of Jameis Winston, I have to ask you, and the question has been asked. What do you think about this extension? Do you extend him? Do you franchise him? Do you let him walk?
I was talking to Pat Donovan earlier about this same situation, or the same question you just brought up. Okay, so here's how I see it, and I'm gonna get back to Jameis. Shaq Barrett has complicated the entire Jameis Winston contract situation. Okay, because Shaq Barrett now is going to command big money. Okay?
You have to pay that man. Yeah. I'm sorry, you have to pay that man.
Right. So I'm talking about 16, 18, 20 million a year, like real big money. So what I think this front office, everybody heard Bruce Arians' comments about If you haven't, you should. Rick Stroud asked, I think it was Rick Stroud, or maybe it was Ira Kaufman, asked Bruce Arians, at this point, if the Glazers ask you, do you bring Jameis Winston back next year? What's your answer going to be? And Bruce wasn't committed. He basically said, I'm going to wait to see how this year plays out. Right.
Yeah.
That to me tells me one thing. Okay. I think they're thinking about extension, because if they plan on just franchise tagging the guy, they don't need it. There's no negotiations there. They're just going to slap the tag on him and ride out another year. And maybe that's what they end up doing. But the fact that he said we're going to wait and see, that to me sounds like a negotiation tactic. Okay. And if they are trying to negotiate with Jameis, maybe on a 3-year type deal with some options, big money up front to give us an out with him in a couple of years. If they feel like, okay, we want to bring him back for another year, maybe they're actually thinking about using that franchise tag on Shaq Barrett.
Yeah. And the thing to keep in mind, Shaq Barrett wants to be here.
He does.
And that's a beautiful thing to me.
But the problem is if you franchise Jameis, he's making $30 million next year.
Right.
If you if you sign Shaq Barrett to a 3 or 5 year deal, he's making $20 million next year or $18 million next year. Guess what? That's $48 million off the cap next year. That's a problem when Sue is gone. Sue's a free agent and Carl Nassib's a free agent. So you're going to need some money, and really you need a veteran corner as well. I think, anyways. I don't think you go into next year with all these rookies. I think you need to sign a veteran corner to get some stability back there. Yes, they flashed the last 2 games, but I don't feel like they can ride with them a full season. I think they're going to bring in a corner. I think they'll draft some defensive linemen. I think they'll draft Sue's replacement possibly. And, but putting $48 million into 2 guys is a problem. So that's why I see them kind of maneuvering to try to sign Jameis to an extension. And I guess we will see what these last 4 games look like.
Yeah. Again, I would like to see what he can do, even if it's for, another season or so. I would love to see what he can do. And, you mentioned some very important pieces. When we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm looking at the cornerback position, and I would love to see some veteran, at least one veteran back there. Somebody who can help these young guys and show these young guys some of the nuances of the NFL, because a lot of them 1, 2, 3 years, maybe tops. What is it? Ryan Smith was the most elder statesman cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Come on, man. You need some. I mean, let's go back to 2010, 2011, 2009. There were no veterans on this team, period. And they played on talent. And I mean, even the coach was didn't have that much of a veteran presence, to be very honest. And I would think that the Buccaneers would learn from previous years that you do need a veteran presence. And even, you can't, I'm not talking about a superstar. I'm talking about somebody back there that knows about the game, that can teach some of these guys to, what they need to do and just how to get better. But I think that's the one chink that I've really seen that's kind of irked me, is that they didn't go out and try to get a veteran for that secondary.
Well, they were in cap hell this offseason. They
didn't really have absolutely.
a whole lot of cap room to work with. I think they made a decision early on. They were going to jettison Gerald McCoy and knew they had to fill his spot. And Sue ended up being available. And Sue's played average this year. He's had some moments. He's had some other moments that wasn't happy with. Even in the last game, he turns it on, he turns it off. And the problem is when you line them up next to Vita Vea, because Vita Vea has a nonstop fucking motor.
Exactly.
Vita Vea is like running with his hair on fire. He's chasing guys 20 yards downfield and making tackles 20 yards downfield. Listen, folks, nose tackles don't do that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I've never seen one. I've never seen a nose tackle make a tackle 20 yards downfield
on a running back.
On a running back when he's lining up over the center. I don't know about you guys, but that's not normal. He's not a normal human. So some of it may be that he just, next to Vita, he looks like he's going half speed sometimes. And maybe he just is. He's a vet. He's old. He's rusty, and he's probably got a year left in this league, and it probably won't be here unless he comes back on a sweetheart deal. Because, like I said, they've got holes to fill.
I think you can upgrade. I really do.
Yeah.
And I really believe that you can get somebody that's a quality player for cheap, or cheaper. So I don't know. Go ahead.
Gene, Rarely's asked this question a couple of times, so I want to address it if I can. He said,
"Yeah,
what are our thoughts on the impact of this year's rookie class?"
I love it. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I had very low expectations. Because of the fact that we're getting bringing more cornerbacks in, considering what all has been done over the past since 2016 to the present in the secondary and you're still running into issues. I wasn't sure what to expect, but just for a new defensive coordinator, just a totally new scheme, and these guys to finally start to catch on to it. I'm like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I can see why some of these guys were drafted and brought in to do what they needed to do.
Well, anytime you can get starters out of the draft, it's a good thing. And right now, we've got 3 rookies starting on defense. Devin White, as we've already talked about earlier, is legit.
Absolutely.
He's having a coming out party. Defensive player of the month or defensive rookie of the month or whatever, that he just got a message. He just got the award for and earned it. And then you got Mike Edwards, who's really showed, that he's got some special ability out there too. He's obviously green and in coverage. All these guys got to work on coverage. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting, looked like a deer in the headlights the first half of the year. Looked like he didn't know where the hell he was. Like he was concussed, and then all of a sudden has started to wake up. So you got 3 rookies starting on defense. And if those 3 rookies develop, this rookie class is a smash. And then you got, the other defensive end who hasn't really played very much because of injury. What is this? Nelson, I think his name.
Yeah. Yeah. I know who you're getting is.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I know who you're talking about too. Yeah, but I think he hasn't been 100% this season, to be very honest.
Yeah, but Bruce has brought him up several times, and I think when he was healthy, he flashed a little bit too. And man, the defense.
Oh, Anthony Nelson. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. The pass rush hasn't been great up until the last 2 weeks either. Against the Falcons, they woke up, and that's going to help. That helps this young secondary a lot. We harassed Matt Ryan. I mean, we've never hit Matt Ryan in the whole career of Matt Ryan. We haven't hit him that much, as much as we did in that game, 2 weeks ago, and then again last week. I mean, both Jacksonville quarterbacks were getting harassed, and it makes the secondary's job a lot easier. And it's a concert. We need both to succeed back there. So, again, back to your question, I personally, at this point, it's looking good for this rookie class for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, it's good that, you've got enough of the season to look back on and get an idea. Okay, this is what you have with some of these players. Jamel Dean, I love Jamel Dean. The fact that he took the baptism by fire against the Seattle Seahawks and he bounced back from that, told me everything I needed to know about that young man and what he's made of as far as a NFL player, having that amnesia, being able to go back there and forget about that. Oh yeah, Rare Leaves is talking about Matt Gay.
Oh my God, Rarely, what's wrong with me? Did I actually not mention Matt Gay?
Sure didn't. Neither one of us did.
Oh, what is okay?
I've been drinking Cigar City beer, so yeah. Shout out to Cigar City Brewery.
I'm literally the captain of the Matt Gay fan club. Me and Sam are. We if you listen to me, him, we rub baby oil all over Matt Gay every week on his podcast. Okay, so yeah, Matt Gay, and I didn't even mention Dean. I said 3 starters on defense. Add Dean in there as the 4th potential starter on defense, and then future Hall of Famer Matt Gay. And yeah, so this rookie class has the chance to be special, and that's something to be excited about as we go into the last quarter of the season and into the offseason. What's up, Neil? What's up, Neil? I see you, baby.
Enzo is. Can you talk about how the fan base is so divided on Winston right now? I think a lot of this will change if the Bucs are winning games. I think a lot of the things that people are looking at with Jameis Winston will go away. You can't when you're looking at a quarterback, and I realize that a lot of people look at turnovers. I guess you kind of have to look at the overall game. Sometimes I have to question Jameis's, decision making at times where he holds the ball too long, or he takes a sack, or he doesn't throw the ball away, or something to that effect. But at the end of the day, I would love to see him with Bruce Arians just for one more season, just to see what can happen. And ultimately, what it comes down to, man, Enzo, in my opinion, is it's going to come down to the owners. Fans can feel however they want to about the situation, but ultimately it's going to come down to ownership deciding whether or not, hey, we're going to keep him or we're going to let him go.
Well,
and I think Jameis could actually walk if he wanted to be very honest.
Yeah, if we don't franchise him, ball's in his court. We can offer him a deal. If he decides to try to shop and go out to free agency, then he'll have that ability. I just don't get. All right, this may just be, my fandom speaking here, but Jameis feels like he wants to be here. He's always, been a company guy and shown love for this franchise and shown love for the Buccaneers. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to want to quit and run, especially if they do show interest in him. Obviously, his agents may have something to say about that. If they lowball him, maybe he does go out and shop, or they could use the other tag on him. What is it? It's like the transition tag or whatever it is, where you give him the option to go out in free agency, and if a team signs him, then they have to give us 2 first-round draft picks. So maybe there's other ways that we can protect him other than the franchise tag. I think I may be wrong on that. I'm not fucking Greg Allman, just a fan. But
just to update, Chicago's beating the brakes off of the Dallas Cowboys, 31-14 right now.
Good. I hope that coach gets fired and Sean Payton leaves New Orleans to be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys and gets the fuck out of the NFC South.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I like your thinking, and you cannot. I couldn't have summed it up any better. Tampa Supreme 813. Thank you so much for pointing that out about Dallas. I had to go and check the score, and I see exactly what you mean. So I guess when we were looking at them at the beginning of the season, they were pretenders. They weren't the real deal. So again, we'll see.
Hey, Antron Bailey said we need to improve the offensive line at right tackle for sure.
Yeah,
and I was trashing Alex Cap at the beginning of the season, because I think I kind of lumped him in with Caleb Benenoch last year because he didn't look good, but nobody's gonna look good next to Caleb Benenoch in
and you'll never guess where Caleb Benenoch is playing right now.
Is he playing for the XFL Vipers?
Nope, he's in Dallas.
There you go.
I bet Dak getting beat down over there, man.
How many Tampa Vipers fans we have in the chat room?
Oh, I'm on board. I'm already on board. So
those uniforms
are pretty fresco, right?
Yeah. I'll have to get a hat. I'll pimp it on the next podcast.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because I've been a Vipers fan since day one.
Yeah, and let's see here. There is some. I'm running through the chat. There's some pretty interesting stuff, and I'm sitting here trying to talk with you and the Bucs are on the verge of taking over the NFC. With all these transitions, Dan Quinn's about to be gone. Riverboat Ron is gone. Cam Newton, I'm sure, will not be a Carolina Panther next year. I would be shocked and surprised if Cam Newton was a Carolina Panther next year. So just my my personal opinion, and I just think that this is the opportunity that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's crazy. You have Tampa with one of the more consistent coaching staffs going into their second year with all this other stuff going on. How ironic is that?
Yeah, well, we're the professionals at starting over and hitting the reset button. That's what we've done 4 times in the last 12 years, or 5 times in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
But I think we're starting to see why this staff was brought in. I really hope. I mean, I feel like we have momentum right now going to this week. I mean, I could be wrong. We could get smacked this week, but I don't feel that way. And usually, those
you got that. I don't know.
Yeah, those butterflies are usually right, aren't they? They're usually whispering, "Hey, don't get too excited."
Pump your brakes there.
Yeah, pump your brakes.
Hey, Will the Brewer, you're absolutely right. Drink local. Right now, that's been my official beer all football season. Has been Cigar City. I've been rolling with them, and I'm really happy. While I was in Tampa last week, I actually got to tour the brewery. Amazing. If you guys get a chance to go down there, it's on Spruce, right off of Del Mabry. It's right behind the Home Depot. If you get a chance to go in there just for a few minutes, be sure to check it out. I love the beers. I mean, the selections are great. Local Joe Redner. You can't this beer says Tampa to me, and that's the one thing that I think about.
There's been an explosion of breweries and locally brewed beer here, and I by no means am an expert, but I live right down the street. That's why I was hoping you were going to come through while you were here, because I literally live within walking distance of the brew bus, and they brew Florida Avenue beer over there too, which is phenomenal. And there's probably 10 breweries within 5 minutes, drive from where I live right here in South Tampa or Seminole Heights area. So, man,
Seminole Heights, yeah.
Yeah. So
Seminole Heights is popping, man. That's where I was staying.
Yeah, that's where I live right there. So, yeah, man. So, yeah, drink local, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
J Daddy 6. I personally don't think Mariota should get extended. Oh, trust me, he's gone. I think that you will see him in testing the free agent market, and again, I don't see him in a Titans uniform next year.
No, mark the tape. He's going to New England.
You think so?
Yep. I think I could see him in that offense succeeding. He's got the quick release. I don't know, for some reason I've always thought that, and I don't know. That's just what I think. We'll see. Who knows where he actually ends up? But
yeah, again, he's one of those guys. I don't know. I could see. I don't know. Maybe like a Cincinnati. Maybe. No, he get killed over in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think that's their offense. They still have offensive line problems too. So
maybe San Fran as a backup.
I don't know. I think wherever he's, and let me say this, and you can mark the tape on this, I think wherever he ends up, he's going to be a starter.
Next year?
Yeah, next year. Trust and believe.
I mean, listen, there's going to be a lot of starting quarterback, positions available. I think you think Miami, probably Chicago.
I mean, yeah. Look, I mean,
what happens in Pittsburgh.
I mean, think about that. I mean, he goes over there and competition for Trubisky's and but I don't know. And they just smashed Dallas the way they did. I don't know.
I was actually surprised to see Chicago's record. For some reason, I've been sleeping. Obviously, they're out of their division race because the Vikings and Green Bay are running shit in that division. But they're 6-6, about to be 7-6.
Yeah.
And I know Trubisky hasn't had a great year, but they've got the horses on defense to really compete with anybody.
Yeah, J Daddy 6 said, I agree with Stank. I think Tom Brady is getting older, and I don't know if he'll be there next year. So, you You might be right, man. Again, I think wherever Mariota ends up, he's going to start.
We shall see. We shall see. It's good.
Rare,
Pretty good rookie class of quarterbacks coming in this draft. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of competition.
Skip Bayless is probably having a heart attack right now. Yeah, I'm sure he's got one eye twitching after watching all this. I'd hate to be between him and Shannon Sharp tomorrow because it's gonna be ugly.
Man, Cowboys fans are some of the worst fans on the planet, man.
Yeah, next to Atlanta fans, but that's for another time. I agree with the chemistry. We should keep everyone together and keep building this elite offense. Definitely could use a tackle. Jeremy St. John's. I did not, and I'm going to be honest. I knew Chris Godwin was good. I did not expect Chris Godwin to be Chris Godwin. And, you hear people say stuff and you're like, oh, well, I don't know if this transitions to the NFL like that. This man he's up there. He seems to be a little bit more reliable than Mike Evans at times. And
yeah,
that's not a hot take. That's not a hot take. It's just what I've seen from him this season. And I don't know if it's just an off season for him or there's an injury we don't know about or what's going on, but just he's a little bit off this year.
Yeah, no, Mike Evans is definitely frustrated, and Chris Godwin, man, isn't it nice when a guy lives up to the hype? I don't mean that in the wrong way. I'm just saying, like, people said he was the next thing coming this offseason, fantasy wise. People projected a breakout season. And usually when that happens, and especially here in Tampa,
they crash and burn.
Right. People talk shit. Oh, that's right, man. So, last year whatever. It just usually it's a crash and burn situation here. Not with Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is a fucking man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I can't remember which broadcaster compared him to Anquan Bolden, but it's a great comparison. He does remind me of a little bit smaller Anquan, probably little bit better route runner than Anquan, but does he play.
And he's not scared to run over people either.
No, not at all.
And the thing I love about him is how he blocks. He'll get out there and block. Not to take anything away from Mike Evans, because Evans will get out there and block too. But just when you watch Chris Godwin, you're like, wow, this is what they were talking about when he was drafted. Oh, everybody's talking about the color rush jerseys. I know that if Sammer was watching this right now, Sammer would be real thrilled. I was actually interacting with Sammer a little bit about the jerseys, and I was like, well, I don't know. The Bucs don't win too often when they wear the color rush jerseys.
No,
but
we don't. No,
but he's like, he said, but they won last year, and I'm like, okay, you got me on that
time.
one. This whole uniform controversy, I think they messed up with the numbers. Had they done something different with the numbers, made them more piratey, or is piratey a word?
Yeah,
pirate-ish.
It is here in Tampa.
Yeah, pirate-ish. Hey, just go find Jose Gaspar and say, hey man, why don't you draw some numbers and go with that? You know what I'm saying?
What if we went with what if we went with some wooden numbers? Okay, like bring the pirate ship into the Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Sammer's the graphic designer. Definitely not me. But I'm actually a fan, and it may just because this whole retro craze, and I'm buying into it. But I'm a fan of the old jerseys. I'm a fan of the old style of jerseys. The big numbers, the big stripes on the arms.
Yeah,
those old 80s and 90s.
Yeah, the Doug Williams where you had the whole.
Yeah. I like those uniforms. I wish we would go back to more of a classic style uniform because I like the simple, clean lines. I can't stand the 3-tone shoulder pad looking colors, and I understand they wanted to get the orange in there and the pewter in there and the red in there, but look what the Lightning did. Okay, Lightning went simple and classic. They went just blue, with that vectorized Lightning logo, and it's just all over town.
Yeah, it's
simple,
it's clean.
it's
It's clean.
beautiful.
Yeah,
it's clean as hell, and obviously they were winners, so it looks even better. when you got a team
winning covers a multitude of sins, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. It's the best deodorant, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's see. I want to make sure. I really hope we went out the rest of the season. J Daddy 6, again, thank you for joining the chat and interacting with us.
Chat's live right now.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes, sir.
I want to say this about the Bucs and the rest of the season, and you guys can go back to the beginning of the season. I've been saying this. Any game that the Buccaneers are stepping on the field, they have a chance to win that game.
Sure.
And the games that I've seen Tampa lose, Tampa was not outplayed. Tampa beat themselves because of penalties, because of execution, and there's enough blame for everybody to go around. I would say some of the play calling may be somewhat suspect, but that again goes back to execution. So I can't say one way or the other on that if that's specifically what the reason was. But what I will say is this, man, this squad, they will go out there and don't count them out. And Jameis Winston, whether you love him or you hate him, he's a Buccaneer, and that guy will go out there and he's going to give you 100%.
Yeah.
He may throw an interception, but he can turn around and throw a frozen rope for 40 yards, 50 yards, and get you right back in the game. So,
hey, just look at the last 6 games that we played. Okay, Tennessee game we should have won.
Right.
Seattle game, if we get the coin toss in overtime, we probably win that game.
They made some costly. There were some costly turnovers, and
right. We should have won that game. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
New Orleans kicked our ass. That was probably the worst loss of the season, or one of them. Maybe London was worse, but okay. So that was a bad game, and then we beat Arizona, we beat Atlanta, we beat Jacksonville. You could make an argument that we probably should have won 5 out of the last 6 games. And then we already know we should have won the Giants game. Had things gone differently, we could be talking about, having a real legitimate shot at a playoff run right now. The Bucs
punched the Niners in the mouth at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So I think this momentum's real. Not to say that we couldn't revert and shoot ourselves in the foot and turnovers and all that same shit that's beat us in a bunch of games this year. But we played a lot of good teams tough. I think we're better than our record says it is.
Uh-huh.
And I think, and I'm not just blowing smoke up this team's ass right now. I do feel good. We won the last 2, and again, that does make you see things in a different light. But this is a beatable team that we're playing this week. They've lost 3 out of their last 4 games. They're banged up.
Yeah,
their Hall of Fame kickers hurt. So it's
I think they just got their quarterback back. So we'll see.
Yeah.
How
so
Amanda Shipman. Hey, welcome to the chat, Amanda. JPP, Barrett, and Sue need to be re-signed. Amanda, let me ask you this and answer us in the chat. Out of JPP, Barrett, and Sue, if you only had a choice of choosing one, who would you choose? But go ahead with what you were saying.
I don't even remember at this point, but I don't think Sue is coming back.
No, I really don't. Again, I think that you can upgrade in that position. Just what Vita Vea is doing, he's opening it up for other people. I'm watching game film and I'm watching him getting triple teams at times. So just offensive coordinators are aware of this man. They're aware of what he can do to a center. And they're aware of what he can do to the interior of an offensive line, period. So, again, if you can get him some help, and I think they really need to look back at how things were handled with Gerald McCoy and get Vita Vea some quality help in the middle, and I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, don't let that defensive tackle from Auburn somehow fall to us in the draft.
Oh, my God.
Don't let that happen.
He's a man among boys. I have never.
Boy, he's a mean motherfucker too, bro.
Yeah.
don't let his ass fall to us somehow. Because
I will personally
fly to Vegas and run the card up to the commissioner myself. Speaking of which, I want to go. If you're going,
I'm gonna be in Vegas, folks. I will be in Vegas for the draft.
I'm going.
I've been trying to go. I just want to experience the atmosphere. I've experienced all of one Buc. Just the whole Buccaneers facility just really made me appreciate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers even more. And now it's all about going to the draft and seeing who Tampa is going to pick up next. And again, folks, go ahead.
You ever been to the draft before?
No, I try to go to the one in Tennessee, and just not enough time. The one here in Vegas, I've got some connections, and I've got some friends that are actually in Vegas. The Buckaholics, and we've been dropping the Buckaholics name.
Shout out to the Buckaholics.
Shout out to the Buckaholics doing what they do. They go big or go home, and I promise you, you're going to see everybody, every damn Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan from California will be in Vegas for the draft. I promise you, they're cooking something up right now, and again, they keep outdoing themselves, and they're going to continue to do that.
I did attend the NFL draft. The year is slipping my mind, but it was at Madison Square Garden. It was the Eli Manning Roethlisberger draft. We ended up drafting Michael Clayton in that draft. I want to say
the stone-handed devil.
Yeah, but that was a fucking awesome experience. It really was. We camped out overnight. Didn't think we were going to get in. Somehow we got in, and
now at that time were they doing the what do they call that? The not like there's something that they do where they just like lottery. There you go. No, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, they do the lottery now.
First come, first serve. We camped out. We were there with all the Giants and Jets fans because that's predominantly who showed out to that draft because it was in at Madison Square Garden. And they sat us in a grouping with like 3 or 4 other Bucs fans, and we happened to be sitting right in front of Berman, Michael Irvin, and I can't remember who else was on the set with them. And it was a blast, man. We got these little radio earpieces. I still got some of the memorabilia from that draft. A lot of fun. I highly recommend you go to a draft because it is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Godwin is on a whole nother level compared to other wideouts because he isn't afraid and he fights for all the extra yards. And I think that's what makes him so special is yards after the catch and just what he's able to do. I mean, he just doesn't go down at the point of catching it. He gets a couple extra yards, and it's just amazing. And I think we as Bucs fans are spoiled when you've got 2,000-yard receivers in the same year on the same team. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that.
No,
maybe more wins and less losses, but that's for another time.
Yeah, I think that hasn't happened in a while. I don't know if Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans.
Yeah, it was Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans was the last time you had the, and I think Free was throwing the ball. Was it? No.
Was it not?
I'm trying to remember. I'm going off memory. My memory is going bad. I'm really trying to avoid getting onto the internet and looking this stuff up. I'm almost
look it up for us, Bucs fans.
Yeah, so let's see. Really, even Sue and Vea next to each other is amazing combination. Could you imagine that DT you guys were talking about at left end? That would be scary. I'm here to tell you that guy is a freaking monster. Yeah. And if you get a chance, folks, if you get a chance to watch Auburn play, look for this man. I mean,
is his last name Davis? Is this Davis?
I'm trying to think. Now I'm going to the internet now. It's time. it's beyond time.
Yeah, I mean, not to get into draft talk too much, but we can play with it a little bit if you want. Clearly we need a right tackle. We can.
I think the offensive line is in the bigger need of everything right now.
The question's going to be: is there a guy who's worth taking that early, or we may not be drafting that early now. We may be drafting in the
Do you take
teens.
the best player on the board?
Not if it's a tight end.
No, we're not going that. We can't go that route anymore.
Right. Yeah. Best player available at a position of need, I think, is all it should be to play. Um, it's you're not going to take a quarterback if you already have a quarterback. You're not going to take a tight end in this offense because we don't use our tight ends in this offense. And you're not going to draft the off the ball linebacker if you have Levante David and Devin White. So it's got to be at a position of need. I listen. Fans might freak out. Listen, don't freak out on me, but we could take a corner. I'm not saying we would, but we could, because that's a position where if you got a commodity there and somebody who could be a surefire, GOAT, then you take them.
I think when you're talking about that, so now you're looking more or less at depth at the cornerback position, and I kind of get that. Again, to me, just looking at the previous drafts, I feel like the Buccaneers have neglected the trenches, whether it's offensive and defensive line. They just have not addressed it in a way that, I think they've kind of done a disservice to both sides. No when you look at teams like the Ravens, if you look at their drafting, they're always looking for a defensive tackle or some defensive lineman or offensive lineman. How often do you hear about them talking about line issues, on that team, even when they had down years?
Listen, our starting center, who is one of the highest paid centers in the NFL, was just a depth piece for them, they just let him go. So they do very well at drafting interior linemen. Pittsburgh Steelers is another team that every year they're taking an outside linebacker, a defensive tackle, a nose tackle, a guard, a center, a right tackle, left tackle in the first 2 rounds. That's just what they do.
Right.
They load up at that position, and they hit on their.
And I tell you what, as the season drags on, here we are. We're near the end of the season, and you're not even talking about they've got they've got depth issues with their defensive or offensive line. These guys are rolling, and they're not missing a beat.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems on this team is the lack of depth.
And it has been due to the coaching carousel, number one, and the general manager coaching carousel, or the general manager carousel has contributed to this as well. Now, let me ask you this, and I know I may have asked you this last time you were on, but I'm going to ask you this again anyway. Mm-hmm. When you draft a player, if a player is a true football player, mm-hmm. does it matter what scheme you put them in? Like, let's say, for instance, I'm a head coach. I draft this guy, and he's a stud, and I end up getting fired. Another defensive coordinator comes in, and he's looking at this guy, and he's like, okay, I can use this guy. Like for instance, a Levante David or a Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy went through multiple defensive coordinators and different coaches, and he managed to stay because, he's a good football player. Yeah. Levante David, same thing. Despite all the coaching changes, here's another man that because of his play, because of his resume, he was able to stay with this team. Is this team drafting good? Because realistically, players should be able to be brought in and be utilized. I understand players with specific talents. Yeah, I could see, okay, you're not going to fit this scheme. Let's move on.
Right. There definitely are players who can't play in multiple schemes. There are corners who can't play man.
Right.
There's zone corners. There's zone corners who are man corners who can't play zone very well. There are plenty of outside linebackers who can't play in a 3-4. Because just look at Noah Spence. He's a perfect example. He really wasn't fit for either system because he was too hybrid. He wasn't big enough to play as a 4-3 defensive end, and he's just didn't have the ability to hold up in the run game as a 3-4 outside linebacker,
Yeah.
and wasn't as consistent as he needed to be as a pass rusher either. So yeah, I think it all depends. The great players, I think Levante David could play in any system. I think Gerald McCoy in his prime could play in any system. You look at Gerald McCoy now; he's beefed up. He's playing with some weight on him. You don't necessarily. I didn't see that kind of gut on him here in Tampa, but he's playing some nose, for them. He's playing some outside for them, and he's older, so he's rusty.
Yeah.
If you want to compare his season to Sue's season, I think they probably.
I try. I think it does a disservice to both guys.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get caught up in the Gerald McCoy and Ndamukong Suh thing.
Yeah.
You guys know my feelings on it, and I'll kind of leave it at that.
Right.
He did what he did while he was here. And then he kind of moved on, and he's playing there. So
yeah, but the reason I made the comparison is because they both started their careers in a 4-3, and then now have transitioned into 3-4, out ends or nose tackles, and kind of had to change their game up a little bit. And Sue hasn't given us the sack numbers, but he's been a hell of a run stopper at times.
And to be very honest, I'm not bothered by any of that as far as what Ndamukong Suh has done. I think them being able to stop the run, I thought Fournette would be the guy that went like 150 yards rushing, but they shut him down too. What he's done, if we look at last year or year before last, teams were gouging the hell out of the Bucs every time they ran. They didn't have to pass the ball because they could just run it. And
Mike Smith had no clue on how to stop the run.
Yeah, no clue, no idea. And that's kind of where. Yeah, exactly. Ken F, good night, my friend. Thank you for checking us out. You were, like I said, you're greatly appreciated.
Good night, Ken.
My guy's over in where is he? I want to say not Jamaica, Bahamas. He's in the Bahamas.
Oh, Ken's in the Bahamas?
Yeah, Ken's in the Bahamas.
Hey, what's
chilling.
up, Ken?
That's what we need to go hang out at. We need to do a podcast from the Bahamas. That would be tight right there, man. We
win the Super Bowl. We're going to have the podcast in the Bahamas.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's going to be the special. That's
Who's
going to be
coming with us?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we can all hang out with Ken in the Bahamas. So that's definitely on the list.
Ken, you got extra couple bedrooms or what's up?
Yeah, man. But again, I want to kind of. I can't believe we've been on for hours. It's crazy. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about this Colts game. Okay. This is a team that they've been suffering a lot of injuries, and it's one of those teams that they have issues with depth as well. So I'm really curious as to how they're going to do. With their running game. Again, I'm just not sure what to expect from this Colts team coming up.
They're definitely reeling right now. They started off strong, and they beat some good teams. They were one of the hot teams in the NFL for a while, and like I said, I think they've lost 4 out of the last 5 or 3 out of the last. Yeah,
they lost their quarterback too for a little bit. So
we obviously know what happened at the beginning of the season, losing Andrew Luck. So it's been a crazy season for them. I will say this, and I don't know if he's healthy, but man, now I'm drawing a blank. The running back that played for
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a homecoming for him. If he's healthy, he's going to try to show out here in Tampa. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
And then they have that speed threat at the wide receiver position, and we typically struggle against those speed guys. So it'd be another test for for this.
Yeah, we're gonna, and that's what the secondary needs. They need to get as many of these tests as they can. Mm-hmm. Just get them up to speed for next season. Rarely even. Have a good night, my friend. Thank you for checking us out. Again, this is going to be a very interesting game. I'm going to be watching mostly the secondary. I think that's where my focus is. That's been a point of contention since before the draft. A lot of people were upset that the Bucs didn't do more to try to bolster that secondary or do better to try to fix the secondary. And I think, the pieces that they have in place, again, these guys just really need to get tested. They need to go up against some of the best wide receivers, and let's see what you get. That's iron sharpens iron. That's how you get better. So
yeah, and Frank Wright's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, he really is.
So he's gonna design plays to test these young corners, and I think he's one of the better offensive coordinators out there. So they're gonna get creative. They're gonna try to beat us. The book's out on these young guys now. We know they can play.
Yeah.
And that offensive line is one of the best offensive line. Their offensive line
Yeah,
is one of the best offensive lines in
Quinn.
football. So what does it look like for these young corners if our pass rush isn't hitting home like it has the last 2 weeks? That could be the real question here. If we're not able to generate a pass rush, can these young corners hold up?
Yeah. Buck the World 2.0. Yo, Adam, who do you think Mr. Bucks Nation's mystery guest is?
My guess was Tom Bassinger. But James said it's not T-Bass. So I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it's Jason Light. I have no idea.
It could be Jameis 1 of 1.
It could be Jameis 1 of 1.
That's what
You're right.
It could be. You never know. Great guy. I've had him on several times, and yeah, great.
Oh, James?
Yeah, no, Jameis 1 of 1.
Oh,
the
Jameis 1 of
author.
1.
Yeah. So that should be pretty interesting.
Wait, you had him on. Did he wear like a bag over his head?
No, actually, he just I just had the cover of his book, and just we just talk football. Dub, what's going on, man? How you doing? Yeah, we just talk quarterbacks and we just talk football in general. So yeah, it was good. I was gonna take off, but I can listen to you guys all night. Yeah, we could when me and him get on.
Yeah,
there's no structure to this, and as you can see, we've rambled. We've talked about the Bucs in the '80s to right now, where we talked about linebackers and
we were talking about beer earlier.
We've talked about craft beer, and I wanted to tell you this. You were talking. You had responded to a tweet, and I wanted to get this on here because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
We were talking about trading places, and you had mentioned this is what did you were giving me who your lineup was for trading places.
Part 2, you mean?
Just the remake.
Yeah, I know. I was really listen. The whole purpose of that, if y'all don't follow Stephen Beck on Twitter. I do whatever I can to get under Stephen Beck's skin because he was like, him and Gene were talking about making, I hope that they don't make a trading places too. And I could only think of like the duo of The Rock and Kevin Hart redoing trading places because I knew it would make Stephen Beck cringe. So that's why I brought that. That's why I brought that up. And I love Steven, by the way. Steven's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he
if you're
is.
Not following Steven on Twitter, you're doing Twitter wrong.
Great analytics guy. I mean, when he talks about the Bucs, he loves the Bucs as much as anybody. He just wants them to win, just like we all do.
Steven's a perfect example. Me and him don't agree all the time. As a matter of fact, we have had some heated discussions on Twitter, but it's always love, always. Whereas the name I mentioned earlier, Mr. Bassinger, has blocked me and my entire family tree. And anybody associated with me, somehow he's found out. He blocked my 14-year-old daughter. She's never even been on Twitter before. Okay, that guy gets personal and gets his panties in a wad. That's not how you Twitter. You don't let trolls get to you. You have fun with it. That's my rant. I'll get off my soapbox.
That's T-Bass, man. That's when what does he call it? Blocktober. He said when it's Blocktober, all bets are off. So
listen, the only person to block me faster than Thomas Bassinger was Steve White, and Steve White is a red ass. I don't even know if he's on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, he is. I follow him too.
Yeah, well, I don't get to see his tweets because he blocked me a long time ago. Just for something nonsensical, but that's fine. Some people are sensitive.
Yeah, that's just who they are, man. It is what it is. I don't. Again, I don't trip off of it.
Nah, me neither. Yeah, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Stank Bastard on Twitter. Follow me. Show me some love. I'll follow you back. All I do is talk Bucs football on there, and that's
And
what I like
occasionally we talk about movies or something like that.
and just some hot garbage and some movies and some bullshit.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? The Rock. Here it is. The Rock and Kevin Hart and trading places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd as Mortimer and Randolph.
Yeah.
So I went to my guy Will. You know who Will Packer is, the producer. Huge Bucs. Huge Bucs fan. Huge Bucs fan.
What's up, Packer?
Yeah. So I was asking him. I was like, so who would you get? And so he came back and he said Kevin Hart and Steve Carell.
Oh, that would be amazing. Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. That's okay. Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Steve Carell is incredible, man. I thought about it. I'm like, man, they could actually pull that off.
Listen, Steve Carell, to me, has some of the best timing. He's a comedic genius. I'm an enormous Office fan, and really a fan of pretty much everything Steve Carell does. He could be the next James Bond. Steve Carell could do anything in acting, and I would be a fan of it, even if it's terrible. I watch the 40-year-old version like 5 times a year. That's how much I love Steve Carell.
So I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
That would work.
Yeah, and I would watch it. I think the actual the movie premise is as valid right now as it was in the 80s, if not more.
Yeah.
With wealth inequality the way it is or whatever, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I think the more things change, the more they
stay the same. You got it.
That's just the way it is, man.
Yeah.
That's the way this country was built. And I don't know that it's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, we got to just enjoy ourselves, enjoy football, and just enjoy each other.
Yeah, man.
Well,
try to laugh at yourself every once
in
a while.
and you know what? And that's what it all comes down to. What are your thoughts on Eddie Murphy's comeback? I think it's long overdue. I've always said he was a talent. I think that the direction that Hollywood was going kind of deterred him from doing more than what he did. I loved when he came back and used his voice in Shrek movies and Mulan and some of the other ones. So,
hey, Gene, did you see his interview with Jerry Seinfeld on Comedians in Cars?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I highly recommend you watch it. It honestly, it made me a little sad, and I'll tell you why. You brought it up, so I got to talk on it.
Okay.
Eddie talks about coming back and how he's scared, and you remember fearless Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was raw, he was so
goony goo goo.
Yeah, he was so brash. He was so unfiltered. And what scares me is that because he said it, he's scared of this
backlash.
The
cancel generation?
Culture,
cancel culture.
But I think after seeing what Chappelle did, right? Okay, so Chappelle just threw that shit back in everybody's face and said, comedy's comedy. Yeah. And I don't care whose feelings I hurt. That's what I hope Eddie brings back into stand up, because
this is my thing here. If you don't like something, don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
If you don't like Eddie, if you feel like, okay, he hurt my feelings, turn it off. Go watch something else. Go listen to some music or something and put yourself back in a good mood. But don't ruin it for everybody else. I don't like people forcing their opinions on me.
No.
Okay? I love the Dave Chappelle. What Dave Chappelle did was incredible. It was, to me, in this day and age, courageous, because a lot of people are scared to say some of this stuff. They're scared to use this kind of material for fear that they'll lose sponsors or, you know what? Dave Chappelle is set for life. Okay?
Yep.
You're not going to hurt him financially by doing this. And again, I think that he's earned the respect of his peers and a lot of fans as well, just because of this. And again, there's stuff on TV, there's stuff on social media, and I hear it and I'm like, oh no, I'm not. That's not for me. I just keep it moving. I'm not going to ruin it for everybody else and just be like, oh no, because I don't like it, you shouldn't like it, or you should feel this way about it. I think that's bullshit. And
think of the children though, Gene. Think of the children.
and that's, but you want to make a stronger generation. Right. I want people to be able. I want my son to hear something bad and be able to deal with it, because in the real world you're going to have to learn how to deal with it.
Hey man, do you you remember the old comedian? I'm talking about old. Listen, you spent enough time in Florida to remember the original Two Live Crew albums. Do you
Yes.
not?
Yes,
All
I
right. So do you
do.
remember the comedian they sampled all the time on their tracks? I think his name was Dolomite or something like
Yeah,
that.
Dolomite. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, pretty much the dirtiest comedian you'll ever hear ever. If you go on YouTube and
I,
search
I
Dolomite
think
and
I think
comedy.
Red Fox and Richard Pryor would probably have something to say
Ooh,
about
yeah,
that.
okay. He definitely in the same vein though.
Yeah,
You talk
okay,
about
yeah.
like some of the shit he says on there, but like listen, comedians they have to be able to say to joke about pretty much anything. And
Right.
Bill Burr's special too. Bill came out and did the same thing, man. And to me, it's like the last bastion of free speech in this country.
Yeah.
You need to, you don't have to agree with what I say. I don't have to agree with what you say. And just like you said, turn it off. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody.
That's your option. You're not forced to listen to any of this. That's like there was a guy that used to listen to me all the time, but because I would not trash Jason Light. I'm like, okay, just trust the process. I don't have nothing. I cannot control what this guy does with the draft. I may not like it, but let's see what happens. I'm going to take a step back and see what happens. And he's like, well, I'm going to stop listening to you. I'm like, you know what? That's your God-given right, man.
Yep.
God bless you. And I hope you find a podcast that you like. I'm not going to hold anybody back, but
Oh yeah.
at the same time, you know, that's your right. And I feel like that's, you know, kind of where we need to be.
Oh, you're gonna get that, man. When you put yourself out there like
Oh
we
yeah.
do,
And
you
I'm good with,
stream
and you know what?
and you
I'm good with
podcast,
that.
yeah, people are gonna have their opinions, and that they're gonna try to force those opinions on you, and that's fine. I'm all for it. Listen, when I started my podcast, and for those who have listened to the Buccaneers podcast, it's not like everybody else's podcast. It's
Yep.
weird. It's weird. I do skits
You got
on
your
there.
own niche. You got your
I
own
have my own,
niche.
yeah, exactly. I have a character I do on there. It's not your normal, breakdown of the film type podcast. To me, I took before I started my podcast, I wanted to come at it at more of a comedy approach and have music in the background and play the music that I like and talk shit just like I would with my boys or I would hanging
Yeah,
out with
at the barbershop or
yeah,
something
exactly,
like
or the barbershop or whatever, even though I'm bald and I don't get to go to the barbershop anymore.
that.
But that type of atmosphere. I just want to be myself. I want to bullshit. I let people call in and say whatever the fuck they want. And I play it on the podcast because I just that's the kind of environment I like.
Yeah.
And to me, one of the biggest inspirations for me was Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe started an empire doing it his way. And he doesn't give a shit about sponsors, and he
And that's the beauty of
Right.
the beauty of his show,
Right.
because he's not hamstrung by sponsors. He can
Anybody.
say whatever he wants. He
That's
can
right.
have on whoever he wants.
Yep.
And that's what you want to do. I've had offers to be under certain networks,
Yep.
but
Same.
I'm sorry, I don't have autonomy, and that's not going to happen. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, that's what happens when you I want to say sell out. Listen, people do this for a living, and they need to be able to make a living doing it. I understand why people do that and affiliate and bring
Yeah.
in sponsors.
Oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
understand that comes at a price. If you're counting on those sponsors to feed your children, you do have to be PC
Yeah.
and be careful what you say, because you don't want to offend your listeners who are going to go cry to your sponsors, and the next thing you know, they're trying to shut you down and cancel your ass.
Right,
That's the last thing
exactly.
I ever wanted. Not that I ever planned to
I don't plan it.
monetize my shit.
Yeah,
I just do it because it's therapy. I come
Yeah.
on with you because it's fun with my boy, and
yeah.
we could talk Bucs football 7 days a week.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Rarely Even saying, I can't believe Eddie Murphy is doing Coming to America 2 and Beverly Hills Cop 4. Again, Eddie Murphy, I love Eddie Murphy. I always will. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I love Norbit. I loved Coming to America, Trading Places, 48 Hours, all the movies that he's done. I mean, he's the most underrated as far as acting goes. He's one of the more underrated actors.
Yep.
If you go back,
Don't
throughout
don't forget Golden Child.
Oh, Golden Child.
I love that movie.
now I got to go and watch that movie too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, bro, can you believe we've been on here an hour and a half, which is crazy.
That's how it always is when I come on
Yeah.
you, bro. It feels
Yeah.
like we're just hanging out for 10
Yeah,
minutes.
man. Yeah, just chilling.
And I love everybody in chat, man. Y'all are all awesome. Smallville, Rarely, Buck the World, everybody who was in here
Yeah.
earlier, man. Much love to you guys. Frank G,
Smallville.
what's up, Frank G?
Hey, put your link to your podcast up there for Smallville.
Okay.
Smallville, you're in for a treat. I love this. This guy has one of the best podcasts. I follow it. I have it in my rotations. The Bucking Idiots. Be sure to check it out.
My brother Noomsy.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, brother Noomsy? Yeah. It's the Bucking Idiots podcast. Actually,
it's all about having fun.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. There's no video, by the way. It's just straight podcast. Nobody really watches it on YouTube, but you can if you're a YouTube person. But it's on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, every platform you can find that podcast. And like I said, follow me on Twitter at Bucking Idiots Podcast or at Bucs Podcast, or just search Stank Bastard. That's where I run my mouth. Give me some love. I'll give you some love back. And yeah, what's up, Buck the World? I see you, baby.
Yeah, Will the Brewer, he's still doing laundry and drinking beer. Hey, Will the Brewer, that's not a bad idea. What about a laundry bar? There you go. You can drink while you do your laundry.
Hey, Will the Brewer, how much you charge to come over and do my laundry, bro?
Hey, there you go. Will the Brewer right there. I just gave you an idea. I just want 10% off the top. And,
That's actually a phenomenal idea. It has to exist in some format. Listen.
What, a laundry bar?
If you open that up in Seminole Heights, forget about it, bro.
People will be leaving their laundry. People will be drinking Chardonnay and drunk and leave their laundry and everything.
Yeah, they're opening up all these high rises around here. Yeah, exactly. That's where these.
Bro, all you got to do is get a liquor license and throw in a bartender, and get a couple of taps, and just make sure. Hey, just make sure that all your washers and dryers are working, man. You got a laundry bar, and you can make some bread doing that. I'm telling you that
yes,
could.
Sir.
I'll bring beer, not doing your laundry.
All good. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. You can bring beer and watch me do my laundry.
There we go. The beer is the most important part. Eddie Murphy is in his 70s. How can he play Axel Foley? We're gonna see. We're gonna see. Some actors, they mature and they can play those roles, and I'm gonna give it a chance. The movies that have been out this year, the majority of them have been trash, and so it'll be kind of good to see something familiar and see how it works out. So I'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah, man. I think it's the era of the television series now. Movies to me don't do it for me anymore, man. Yeah. Like when you got products like The Mandalorian, when you got these series
the Mandalorian, badass.
Yeah, where you get to like play out the story slowly over time. To me, that's the answer, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's answered questions that I've had forever about Yoda and some other things that are going on. So,
are you shitting me? A baby Yoda? What?
Yeah, I probably need one of those.
we could all use a little baby magical being to watch over us.
That's right. Put a force choke on somebody if they mess with you. There you go.
That's right.
All right, guys. This has been fun. This is probably this is what we do when me and Stank get on here. We just talk, man, and it goes a different direction, and it's always fun. I'm gonna try to have him on again real soon. Hint, hint, hint. Right. And I'm appreciating this. We
have each other's phone numbers now, bro.
Yeah.
We can't get away from each other.
That's right. Next time I'm in Tampa, we will definitely hang out, and we'll pick up where we should have left off the last time.
Real quick. I don't know why I always forget, but we got to get Sammer on here with us too.
Yeah.
Loose Cannons podcast. I do a podcast with Sammer Ali once a week as well. Loose Cannons podcast. Shout out Sammer. Sammer can get on here and clown with the rest of us.
Yeah, most definitely.
We talk that shit. He's one of us, man. He's a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for me. I got to start packing anyway. I have not started packing. It's crazy. But anyway.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Smallville will be at the Bucs Falcons game. Hey, look for my guy Stank. He'll be at that game, right?
I'll be there. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Season ticket holder. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, be sure.
Hit me on Twitter, man. Hit me on Twitter.
Yeah, be sure to come up and speak to him, and just get to know. That's what I want to do. Get to know as many of the people that are listening as we can. J Daddy 6, thank you again. I appreciate your contributions and everything. Everybody, XLU Garvey, sorry, sorry I kind of missed you there, but thank you for coming on. As usual, I appreciate your support as well. But I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here now. And again, thank you everybody for a great time. I had fun.